Age of Fantasy Skirmish. We're going to do a rematch. Elves versus the big boys. We're doing a rematch of the last fight. On the left-hand side, we've got Elves, and I think the thing to be aware of is you've got two units of warriors, one with spears, they have counter. These are Coast Guards. They have bows with a range of 12 inches. Each of these guys is an individual unit, and then we have a champion who is a caster 3, and this guy here, actually, let's make the rainbow staff here the champion with a caster 3, hero tough, and then we have another leader, high noble. So this is our champion and our high noble pointing his finger to the left and right. They can't agree on which way they're supposed to go. Both caster 3. The difference here is that the guy with the staff has 4 attacks, and the guy with the sword has 3 attacks at AP 1. Over on the right-hand side of the table, we've got our ogres. The ogre champion is the giant, the old ginger giant there. He's got tough 6. Everybody else on that side of the table has tough 3. I hope we can remember that this time. Last time I forgot that the champion over here had tough 3. Including the doggo there. He's a saber-tooth. Technically, he's a saber-tooth. I'm using a hellhound. I'm going to refer to him as hellhound. Fast strider. The 2 ogres in the back with the great big honking swords are just going to be straight-up ogre warriors. 2 attacks at AP 1. And then we do have an iron warrior. That's this troll-looking feller right here. For those that don't know, most of these figures come from the but I think the giant is alternative armies, actually, but he might be Splintered Light, can't remember. The rest of these come from the Demon World line. I don't know if they're 15 millimeter or 18 millimeter, whatever. You know, the ogre here is a spitting image for G-dubs. The troll over here is a spitting image of that G-dubs troll, and likewise with the ogres. They're great. I got a whole bunch more ogres, but this is a 250 point battle, so let's set up some terrain. Would you look at this? We are back in the desert. We've got our usual sand dunes. They block all vision beyond the halfway point. If you're standing on this side looking at it, you can only see to the top. Everything beyond that is blocked. We've got the old temple, broken ground. We're not going to call anything dangerous on this, but the hard pieces of terrain, of course, are impassable, as are the rocks. They block line of sight. This is really our only real patch of terrain that we need to think about. That you can, the pillars, of course, block line of sight, but you can move through here. It is difficult ground, so you're not able to rush. The roads are the big one we should talk about. This is not a road. This is a dry wash. We're going to introduce a little bit more three-dimensionality. This is low enough that when you are down in it, you cannot be seen. So kind of unusual in that it doesn't block line of sight unless you're standing down in this dry wash. And the dry wash doesn't block line of sight along it. So, as with any other terrain, when you move into it, you can only move your normal distance. Basically, on my table, 3 inches. You can't move 6 inches across it. You 3 in, and then you have to stop inside, even if you have room left over, because then it's 3 inches to get across. That's really going to slow things down a lot. That's 2 turns. 1 to get in, 1 to get out. That's half the game's worth of movement for you, fellas. On the other hand, you can move along it, and then likewise will block the walls of the dry wash will block line of sight. So we got a lot going on. Question is going to be, this is north over here. What is our deployment zone going to be? And one of the deployment zones will be to the southwest. That is this corner of the table over here. The opposite corner up here by the rocks will be the opposite. So those are 2 deployment zones. Now we can figure out how many objective markers are we placing. 5 this time. And we have to roll to see who gets to deploy the first one. We're going to do blue for the elves and red for the ogres. We'll re-roll that. And what a surprise. The ogres are going to get to drop the first objective marker. As you know, I am fascinated by this portion of the game. I have set the deployment zones 9 inches away from the corner. That gives it's a pretty big table. The diagonal means we're like 18 inches separated. Going to be a whole lot of moving on this one. Bear in mind the ogres have no shooting, so they want to take as much advantage of cover as they can. They put down 1, 3, and 5 as the objective markers. The elves are okay with having nice, big, broad avenues of approach and shooting, so they've gone with 2 and 4. The intersection of that consideration with the deployment zones is very interesting. Who gets to start deploying? The blue die is the elves again. No modifiers to this. The elves get to choose their deployment zone first. The ogres are going to be hard pressed to get across the table. I've put everybody within 9 inches of their respective corner. We've got the 2 warriors on the flanks. Remember, the Hellhound over here does have Strider. He doesn't care about that dry wash at all. That's going to give the ogres the flexibility they need because they are at a distance disadvantage. Not only do the elves have the advantage of all of this distance shooting they can do, they're starting very close to this dry wash. So their plan generally is going to be get both of your units into this wash and then race down. As I said, they're closer. They can just stand off with their shooters and their wizard. And there is a little wrinkle to where we've got these 2 objective markers in the wash that's going to become it. It's going to be very important as we get there. But there might be a lot more maneuvering than usual. So the elves started to deploy first. They get to make the first activation. So at the end of turn 1, the elves have moved down into the dry wash. They've got their champion with the, what did we say? The guy with the spear has got the 4 attacks, and the guy with the sword has the 3 attacks and AP. Shooter, shooter. Now, nobody was in range, even by moving after the ogres have moved up. Had they moved 3 inches, they still would have been out of range of these guys who came up close. And in fact, most of these guys, well, not the Stonebiter, but these 2 guys are hiding behind the dune for now. The only figure that hasn't moved yet is this Hellhound, and he can move a total of 8 inches, ignoring cover. So in this case, because he ignores cover, we're going to go ahead and bring him up. Oh, remember, whoever moves that runs out of figures last moves last. So the key here is we want him to be within 8 inches of that objective marker. So we got to bring him to right there. And that's going to be the end of turn 1. That means the spell slingers over here for the elves are going to start off this turn with 6 magic points. That's going to be huge. The elves get to make the first activation, and the ogres captured objective 4 at the end of turn 1. I should probably put down some magic tokens for these wizards, but we'll just try to kind of remember as best we can. The elves want the ogres to commit to movement first so they can drop their spells. That means the elves are going to have to commit to moving, and the question becomes, do we want to bring the spearmen over to capture objective number 1? Because they are pretty good defensive fighters. I think we do. So we bring them out to here. And we're going to have one more turn to position them wherever we want. The fact that we've got this temple here in the foreground is going to force the ogres to come at them. The ogres get to go next, and I think for the ogres, likewise, they say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just drop my boy down here into the dry wash, and he's behind cover. He will wind up grabbing, oh, you can barely see him back there yet, but you see him. He's going to grab objective 5, and the ogres are off to a pretty good start, all things considered. However, they are too far away from this objective marker, so we'll bring our champion right up to park on objective marker number 2. See him standing right there? Then the ogres get the option of going, and we're still a little worried about those archers. So why don't we bring our Stonebreaker up? Now, at 6 inches, he cannot move down into the dry wash here on turn 2. So I'm actually going to slide him over this way a little bit. He's going to have to drop down on turn 3 and then pop out on turn 4. And we want to leave him in a position, I think, where when he comes out, this is where things get a little bit trickier. He's going to have to, we want him to have the choice between which of these he goes after. Now, that does put him in line of sight of this archer right here. This archer is going to get to take, is he in range? Oh yeah, we're within 12 inches. So that archer is going to get to make 1 zap attack. The archers for the elves are not particularly great. They only get 1 attack at 24 inches, and they have a quality of 4, so nothing doing, and that does give the option of movement to our ogres. Now, one of the interesting things, this is what I was warning you about before, to seize an objective marker, you only need to be within 1.5 inches of it. Let me move this terrain out of the way so you can see. So anybody standing right here will contest for this objective marker. Our giant is safe for the time being, so he can just wait there. Oh, he's kind of moved 6 inches. So is he 7.5 inches away? He is, but he's got to come around. So it's going to take him 2 moves to contest for that objective marker. So what we're going to do, if we're just going to contest for everything as far as the ogres are concerned. So likewise, I'm going to bring this guy up to here. And I'm not too concerned about those big spellcasters dropping their boom booms on us because toughness 3. And we'll risk this guy first. So Mr. Champion over here is going to drop a spell. If he is within 12 inches, he's got a spell called Quench. It costs him 2 spell points. He's got 6 to spend. If he spends 2 to cast it, then he will be successful on a 4 up. But he can spend another 2 points to give himself +2. 1 is always a failure. So if he spends 4 points, that's what he's got, the 2 magic points under him. This guy should have 6. I forgot to actually cast any spells with him before I went. Oops, he probably had a defensive spell. He's going to run out. You can only have 6 at a time, so he's not going to get any this turn, but that's all right. So we are rolling Quench. We need to see if we get a 6. Oh, he would have got it even without spending the extra points, but that's all right. He'll have 5 next time, and that does 2 hits. Target enemy unit within 12 inches. Well, oh, wait a minute. Within 12 inches. That means within 6 inches. And we have the movement. So he does have to move up to really get up tight and close with his shooty boy over here. So we move him first. And then we cast the spell. Range of 6 inches. There's your 6 right there. And the ogre takes 2 hits. Now, does he take 2 hits? Does he get... I believe he gets to make his defensive roll. And with a 1 and a 4... I think he's got a defensive 4. I think he's going to take 1 wound, but he's got tough 3, so he's really just going to kind of shrug that off. Leader feels comfortable enough to move up. He is further away than 6 inches, so the red-headed giant is going to move up to the dry wash, and on the next turn he can drop in, and he may even be close enough to challenge for this objective marker. We'll bring this archer out just a little bit further so he can see, and he can take a shot at this ogre as well. And with the result of a roll, where we can see it, with the result of a 5, he's going to hit. The ogre is going to defend with a 6, so nothing doing. Those archers are good, but you know, 1 attack just isn't enough. That means the ogres are going to have their last activation, and that's going to be this guy right here in the shadows. We'll bring the light over so we can see him a little better. He's going to be able to move 3 inches down into the dry wash. I'll measure and figure out exactly where he goes. And then these swordsmen are going to pop up and take a 2nd rank right over there. The score is now 2-2. As you can see, the purple gems have been seized. Those are objectives that have been seized by the elves. And all of the elves' objective markers are threatened. That is not the case for the ogres. The ogres have a difficult decision to make. If this hellhound decides to leave, that's going to leave this objective exposed for this elf to drop in on turn 3 and seize it on turn 4. That being the case, the ogre's first activation, I think I did this wrong on the last turn, whoever finishes first gets to activate first. The ogre's first activation is going to be to drop this guy down into the wash. Now, he does still get to move 3 inches. And conveniently enough, that puts him further than 6 inches away from this champion. The elves are going to, remember that champion, he hasn't moved. He's got 6 spell points. This guy has 5. He is once again going to spend 4 of those spell points. Should we spend the 5? He's got Tempest, which targets 2 enemies within 12 inches, but he doesn't have, or 6 inches in our case, but the only enemy he's got within 6 inches is this leader right here. The Stonebreaker is too far away. That means that's his only option. He's going to try to get that spell off on anything but a 1. With a 5, he gets it. The big guy right here, old Chief Ginger Chin, he's going to have to make 2 saves at, what are we at here? Toughness. He's got tough 6, huh? Oh, defense 4, that's what it is. He's going to fail both of those, and he's going to laugh. He eats spells like that for breakfast. So he takes a couple of shots, and the ogres get to go. So we're going to bring Mr. Hellhound out. I've pre-measured. He is closer than 8 inches. He ignores the terrain, and he jumps on top of this elf right over here. Let's get a little closer and run this combat. The Hellhound has attack 3. He's got rending on all 3 of these. So we'll start with his attack roll. He gets a 5, 1, and a 4. He has a quality of 4. Double check. He's got a quality 4. That's 2 hits. The elf has a defense of 5 up. And he's going to get a 6 and a 2. He will take 1 wound. The Coast Guard does not have toughness. That means... Oh, you know what, though? He's got a spear. I didn't notice that before. Okay, he's going to take his first wound. Probably. We'll roll... Give me just a second. I got to reverse the clock here a little bit. Counter means he strikes first when charged, and the charging unit has -1 impact roll. So that doesn't mean anything. It just means that the Coast Guard gets to attack first, and he's got a quality of 4, so he will hit. And the Sabretooth, who's got tough 3, is going to make his save. So nothing doing there. But then the Sabretooth will make his attack. And now we have to find out what happens to the elf. We roll, and on a result of a 3, he will be merely stunned. He is at -1, and the Sabretooth backs off. So this elf will be able to either fire or just recover this round. But if he fires, he's going to have a quality of 5 up instead of 6 up. We got a lot going on over on this side of the table. The elves have the go, and they're going to bring their spear guys up to right here. They're going to get close enough to objective number 3 to hold it, and hopefully to block this Stonebreaker. And that's going to leave them exposed to all 3 of these bad guys. Well, no, it's not. This ogre here can rush up, and we might as well force them to commit. He's going to rush up to here, and he is close enough. You only have to be within 1.5 inches to challenge for number 3. The elves are not going to be able to score that this turn. Then the elves are going to be able to bring their second rank up into this position to defend this point, trying to hang on to that for turn number 4. All that the ogres are going to be able to do, so they've got 2 more activations. And the question is, do we bring the Stonebreaker in, or do we bring the Boss Man in? And the answer to that question is going to be, I think you want to... So it gets complicated because... Let's see if I can wheel my camera around just enough to show you. Remember, the champion is hiding right there at the fork in the road, and he has not gone yet. He's got all 6 of his spell points. So whoever goes won't be shot at by this bowman, but when he drops down into the wash for 1 turn, I think we got to bring this guy down. He's going to move 3 inches to here. Kapow. And to right behind that, yeah. So there he is, right behind the column. You can just see his fist, green pride. And that's going to open up the door for the hero to either charge. That might be a better go for him. That is the champion. He's got 4 attacks at AP 1. No, it's 3 attacks at AP 1, and I think that's the way to go. I know he's got some pretty powerful spells. Because you're going to get charged next turn anyway. So I think we just, let's take a look at that a little bit more. Oh, the purple goes on number 2, objective number 2. So this is the fight that we're looking at right here. And our elven hero is going to get to attack first. He is, actually, not a hero. That's the elf high noble. 3 attacks at AP 1. We're going to need something like that. He's got a quality of 3, so he's going to land with a 3, 3, and a 5. He's going to land all 3 hits. The problem that he faces is that the Iron Warrior, the Stonebreaker, the Stone Eater, he has a defense of 3 up, and your AP is at -1 when you attack him. So there's no AP on this. It stays at a 3 up. He does have rending. Is there any? I'm looking for anything else that noble has. Hero, tough, caster 3. That's it, man. So the Iron Warrior is going to have to make 3 saves. He gets a 6, 3, and a 1. He's got a defensive 3. So only one of those hits is going to get through. Man, what a tough mamma jamma. And with a toughness 3, that's not even going to force any kind of a wound check. The Iron Warrior is going to get to counterattack, and he's got 4 attack. Wait, no, he doesn't have 4 attacks. What am I talking about? He's got 3 attacks at AP2. Holy cats. Okay, so 3 attacks, AP2. He gets a 6/5 and a 6. And he is counterattacking. He doesn't have rending, so that's not a thing. But all 3 of his shots are going to land. The elf is going to have to save all 3. And he's got a toughness of a defense of 4 with a 5, 1, and a 4. He's going to make 2 of them. He takes a hit, and he's got toughness 3 as well. So then he has to back off, and that makes him vulnerable. But they've defended the objective. That was the elf noble's turn. So now our boss man can drop down into here. The giant clambers down. Boy, he looks like he's got like a silver. He's got like a Cat Ballou thing going on there. Looks like the paint is chipped off his nose. Well, that's what you get for storing your figures wrong. And that's not even the end of the turn, is it? The next thing we're going to have to do, so if he backs off just a little bit to one side, then we can drop this archer down into, he's hiding behind the trees. You can see his little bow there. He's going to take a shot at the Iron Warrior as well, hitting on a 4. He gets a 3, and that's a miss. Man, but he is going to be defending that point, at least from this direction. Ooh, that's not good. So we have one more thing we can do, and that's going to be, oh, he already went. Who hasn't gone yet for the elves? Oh, I know who it is. This elf way back here is going to recover. He's got 1 wound, but at least here on turn 4, he represents more of a threat. The ogres were the last to go. We are going to bring this wounded ogre 6 inches up to here. He will contest for this objective marker. That will force the wizard to come down and battle it out. So here's the problem is, he doesn't have any way to push that guy back. He's got to kill him or else. So we're just going to charge him. We're within 3 inches. The high elf champion is going to take 4 attacks against that ogre. And the champion has a quality of 4. So he's going to land 2 hits. And the ogre will save. One of them, he will take his 2nd wound. There just aren't enough turns to kill these ogres. That ogre now is going to get a chance to counterattack. He's just a regular ogre warrior, so he only gets 2 attacks, but he's at AP 1. Champion didn't have any AP. So the ogre is going to land 1 attack, and he will be tired after this, but with an AP 1, that means the elf champion, his defense is normally a 5, becomes a 6. That means he failed with that AP 1, and then to find out what happens, we roll a 6, and he's eliminated from the game. Well, we had to try to get close enough to drive him off. It's the only way they can hope to win. The score is 2-2, and by contesting for this, it's quickly going to fall to 1 to the elves to 2 to the ogres. See over here, this is where the real action is going to take place. With that done, though, the Sabretooth says, I'm not done gnawing on this Coast Guard over here. I'm going to charge in. I'm going to hit him with my attack of 4, rending. I'm going to land a pair of hits. He's already got 1 wound. But he makes both of his defense rolls. Look at that. Well, wait a minute. Does he? The Sabretooth does not have AP. Unless he hit on one of those was a 6. I don't think it was, though. So both of those are successful. This is why he recovered. He's going to counterattack and miss, and that means that the Sabretooth has to back off. That archer is just going to wait and hang out. He's really not going to have any more effect on this game. He's not close enough to challenge for anything, and he doesn't want to take his shot. He's only going to hit on a 6. So let's take a look at the other part of the battle, where this Stonebreaker says, I'm good. We're going to flip it around to where the ogre leader is charging this unit of swordsmen right here. That is because he wants this fight to go one-on-one. He figures his guy can survive, but he won't survive both of these attacks. The ogre champion is going to take 4 attacks at AP 1. And He has a quality of 4. He's going to get a 1, 2, 3, 3. He gets nothing. So he gets forced back. And the swordsmen say, that's fine, we're not interested. Because the elves are going to attack this guy here. They will charge into combat. The swordsmen are saving their 6-up shot for later. The elves are going to attack this ogre down here. And we'll turn him to face. There we go. Now, they have counter. It doesn't do them any good here. They have a quality of 4. They have 1 attack. So that means 3 attacks on him. And with a quality of 4, they're going to land a total of 2 hits, which won't be enough. Really need to gang up those. But with a 1 and a 2, that warrior is going to have to take 2 wounds. And then he has to decide, do I want to attack now or later? The Ogre Warrior has 2 attacks at AP 1. We might as well go ahead and do that. We'll take the 2 attacks. He's going to roll a 2 and a 3. He will miss with them both. That will end the combat, and the spearmen have to back off. They haven't beaten him yet. These guys, I don't know about interpenetrating. These guys are close enough to be able to launch an attack. The problem is, and he's already gone. So he's too far from this objective marker, so they might as well, can you interpenetrate? I don't know. It's a skirmish game, so we're going to do that. This is the only hope the elves have to really complicate things. These elf warriors with the swords now, they just have a quality of 4. They each have 1 attack. And is that it? Yeah, 1 attack at quality 4. They're going to roll a 4 and a 6 and a 3. Forcing this ogre to make 2 defensive rolls, and with a 4 and a 5, he will pass both of those. He's got a defensive 4. He can then counterattack with 2 attacks at AP 1, and he gets a 4 and a 5 for 2 hits. The swordsmen, these elf warriors, have a defensive 5, but with the AP 1, they only save on 6s. They're going to save one of them. They're going to lose one of their guys, and the other 2 have to back off to here. And that's really going to end things for this part of the battle. They really needed to kill this ogre in order to seize this objective marker to tie the game. The elves still have a chance. They have 2 units that have not gone. This archer is going to take a shot at this ogre. He hits on a 4, and he gets a 5 for the hit. That ogre then has to make his defense roll. And with a 6, he does. We needed him to fail, so he shrugs that off. If this ogre had died, then this would stay in the possession of the elves. Oh, well, then the problem that the elves have is that this champion has to go clear him out. So the champion rushes over and says, "All right, well, listen, I have. I don't think this champion is gone yet. Except that he doesn't get to go yet. The elf took the shot." And now this iron warrior gets to go, and he'll charge into combat. That's where we're at. I feel like there's still 2 more. Oh, right, that archer hasn't gone yet either. Not that it really matters because he doesn't have a shot. So this iron warrior has got a quality 4. He's got 3 attacks at AP 2, and he's going to land 2 of those. The elf leader has a 4-up defense. He's going to save 1. He takes his 2nd wound, and he says, I'm not going to attack. He says, I want you to back off there, pal, because I am instead going to turn around and charge this guy who's already got 2 wounds. By the way, this leader has toughness 6. So he's going to stick around. But because the Iron Warrior has already gone, he doesn't contest for this one. The elves are going to be able to steal it, and we may wind up with a tie. Unless, the score is 2-2. The elves, I'm sorry, not steal it. They're going to maintain control. If this goes away, then the score will wind up being 2 to the ogres. Don't take my word for it. This one is contested. These 2 are owned completely by the ogres, and this one is owned completely by the elves. So it all comes down to this. If the elves can maintain control of that, then they will tie this game. If this leader doesn't kill this ogre, then the ogres will win by a score of 2-1 with 2 contested. So our noble has a quality 3, 3 attacks at AP 1. He's going to land with all 3 of them. That guy already has 2 wounds, but he does have a defense of 4. And with a 6 and a 4, he's going to make 2 saves. He's going to take his 3rd wound, which forces him to roll his wound check. And we're going to add 3 to this. With a 2 plus 3, we get a 5. That is not enough to remove him from the table. He is going to stay on the table. What does a 5 give you? It gives you, he is shaken. Oh, and you know what? Now that I think about it, that's all we needed. He's shaken. He no longer contests for this. That means the elves maintain control, and we have a tie game. Man, all that effort for a tie game. I mean, the only other, maybe there's one other thing we can do. This elf hasn't gone yet. If you allow shots down into, well, no, it doesn't matter, right? Because he's still, he doesn't contest. It doesn't matter. So yeah, the game is over. It's a tie game. There's no way for the ogres to contest for this because all of their guys have gone. We should have held off on this Sabretooth, and the Sabretooth probably should have come down at on his last activation and put another body on this, because then that would have denied it, and it would have been 2-1. So much closer game. It went quick, man. I tell you, when you have these big motion blocking obstacles in the way, it really changes the nature of the game. I like these kind of highly detailed, let's give ourselves some really unusual challenges from a terrain perspective, because it really does make the game something special. We'll talk more about terrain and this game in a future episode, I'm sure. Until then, and maybe I'll say some controversial things that will annoy people. Wouldn't be the first time. Hey, until then, I'm praying for you.